The New York Times, a.k.a. The Athletic, when it comes to sports, did a profile on Nico Harrison. Who is the man who traded Luka Doncic? And Bobby took you through part one in the 6 o'clock hour, basically recapping how rigid and disciplined he is, how serious he takes nutrition. A lot of times going up to friends and saying, "What'd you eat for lunch today? What's your diet looking like?" What a douchey thing. I hate people like that. I really do. They're sitting there just judging you up and down over your BMI. And obviously he compared everything to Kobe Bryant. Now this is going to go one of two ways. He's going to find Kobe Bryant-esque type mentalities and dedication to conditioning and the game of basketball, or Nico, our prediction, is going to find that, and it seems weird being like Nico Harrison's going to find out about NBA players. The man signed Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis and a countless number of individuals over at Nike. So it does sound on the surface a little foolish of us to be like, your expectation level of what the leader of your NBA team should be is too high. It's a little bit silly. Kobe Bryant was a top 3 worker, arguably, in the history of the NBA. And because Luka Doncic is not that or very, very close to it, that's not good enough for you and gives you the justification in your mind to trade him at the age of 25. Ridiculous and crazy. Look, as we've all said throughout this whole thing, you want to trade him for those reasons? Okay. Not full sign-off okay, but I get it. But getting back Anthony Davis and the lack of the return is the most unforgivable part. To me.
That's it.
It's
not the trade.
AD is going to represent Kobe. And we're probably taking that too far. But if you're going to make that trade, you better get someone back that you can rely on, like Kobe Bryant, from a durability, leadership, work ethic standpoint. And Anthony Davis, he's not it because he can't last.
It's not necessarily the trade. Again, like you can reasonably say that you get Boncaro and 4 ones.
Yeah.
Then you could justify that deal. But I'll still say that, and I said this yesterday, if you were to give Ranger fans a choice, would you rather have won in 2010 or 2023? They'll take the 2010 title because that was a mostly homegrown team.
Yeah.
That matters here. It doesn't matter for the Cowboys necessarily.
Well, it matters in a lot of places.
Yeah.
I always take this to the Yankees.
The Yankees don't care necessarily.
Yeah,
but Dodger fans don't care. Laker fans don't care.
But those Yankee titles meant more when it was Jeter, Mo, and Posada along with Pettit versus buying everybody.
Right. Yeah, the 09 title I don't think meant as much as the 96 one. Just didn't.
Sure.
It won't. Like you bought your team.
And Nico is viewing it, and I don't blame him, as, your job as fans, okay, you can care about the one title with Dirk and the one title you may get with Luka. My job is to try to win 2. 2 titles without them are better than 1 title with them, and that is a huge fight, disagreement, and debate amongst a fan base and a front office. Nico's job is not to worry about your fans' sentiment of winning the 1 Dirk title. Nico's job is to try to win 2 titles.
Right, but but
he's trying to win 2 titles in 3 years with this move instead of 2 titles in 10, maybe.
Yeah,
right. That's the biggest problem. He's really narrowed his window.
Because if you were to ask Mav fans, would you rather win 1 title with AD over the next 3 years, or 0 titles with Luka over the next 15? But you get to see Luka for the next 15. I don't think it's. I think the Luka thing still wins out. Majority still would say
yes
Luka.
In the moment today. And probably if they do end up winning, it's an impossible thing when we get on our bandwagon-y. Look at the way, at least I reacted during the Rockets debut. I'm like, okay, this is fun. I want to see this. I want to see how this plays out. But you may have a lot of
out exactly how we knew it was going to play out.
Exactly. My anticipation is if they even win the title this year, I don't think anybody says Nico was right. I think this fan base, given how they've reacted, says you would have won it with Luka too.
Right, because they were in the
and
finals.
then we would have been able to win 2-3 more. All you did was show me that we could have won it with Luka.
All right, so let's dive inside this article with part 2. Nike's NBA player reps call themselves the SEALs, a reference to the elite Navy Special Operations Unit. The military terminology does not stop there. Operating above the SEALs is Lynn Merritt, the high-ranking exec most famous for signing Kobe and LeBron, who is known by his team as the General. That crew which for years included Nico Harrison, prefers to operate in silence. The player reps act as liaisons between basketball stars and the premier athletic brand. In Harrison's case, he was the middleman between Nike and most famously Kobe, though he worked with other top-tier players too, including Davis and Irving. And at Nike, RJ, the SEALs had a secret handshake. Did you not bust out laughing when you read this?
It's so stupid.
It includes at least 2 or 3 daps. And the Athletic is not, this is the funniest part. The Athletic is not privy to the intricacy of the greeting, given the, like the Athletic is not privy to the trade parameters or the trade negotiations. No, we're not privy to the handshake, given the true confidentiality of how SEALs, even ones at an athletic apparel brand, slither behind the scenes. Nico gets such a high out of talking to Rob Pelinka, his Navy SEAL brother, because of their time with Kobe. He did not, again, want this to get out because he would say, look at what the Miami Heat just went through with Jimmy Butler.
So was it Navy? Was
choked. Do you remember your fraternity handshake?
No, I don't know if we had a fraternity handshake.
Was
we probably did. I don't remember it.
Were the Nike SEALs the same ones who that Penn State story we were talking about during a break yesterday, where they went up to the Penn State football team and said, you got to stop taping up these guys' ankles and covering the Nike swoosh. And so then they had to stop taping up guys' ankles because Nike takes itself way too seriously.
Serious.
This just sounds like Nico is directly aligned with that cult-like mindset.
Jen Allen worked closely with Harrison at Nike. Quote, he's willing to make the audacious choice if he believes it serves the greater mission. That being said, he's one of the most measured risk takers I've ever met. There's nothing about Nico that is haphazard or reckless. He worked alongside Kobe for years, witnessing the Mamba mentality, but he's not merely plagiarizing one of the greatest ever. It's also Nico's character. Danny Sprinkle, his college teammate, says he's that disciplined and detailed. Sprinkle's now the head coach at the University of Washington. As you said, Bobby, earlier, his pops worked at an aluminum plant for 30 years. He missed just one day of work.
Can we verify that?
I would.
How do you know? Like how many days of work did your dad miss? I have no idea.
I'll be honest.
I have no idea.
The guy who thinks like I got to trade Luka because he drinks beer or whatever sounds like I imagine that probably is accurate.
Doncic represented a different type of mentality from Kobe. Luka drinks beer and smokes a hookah, neither of which is atypical for a 25-year-old. But those behaviors did not fit Harrison's mold. Questions about the team's ability to hold Luka accountable followed. Luka controlled more day-to-day decisions than the average player does, such as practice schedules. Those superstars on other teams receive similar treatment. Bob Voulgaris, Vegas Bob. Did you hear the cooler story? Did y'all hear the sweet tea lemonade story?
I don't think so.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Here's Vegas Bob. Every person who worked at the Mavericks except for me was terrified of Luka, 2018 to 2021. He told a story during Luka's rookie year. Luka would fill his thermos with what was in the Gatorade cooler. It was basically an Arnold Palmer. It was a mixture of lemonade and sweet tea. Vegas Bob told Cuban, I know liquid calories are death. You got to go ahead and change this. And Cuban's like, yo, man, shut up. Stay in your lane. All right, be quiet. Well, the next day at practice, he goes, and the coolers were changed out. So this is Bob saying basically, yeah, Cuban, he kicked me to the curb on the topic, but he really listened to me and changed what was inside the coolers.
So, did you see the Cuban quote in this, by the way?
He said, quote, Bob has always talked a good game.
That was his only reply back to the Athletic.
So I do find Voulgaris interesting on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'd like to get him on.
And he destroyed this trade. He said this will go down as the worst trade in sports history.
So Nico has it doesn't jive with him if you're drinking beer and you're smoking a hookah, whatever. Am I to believe he would have moved on from Joker?
Probably.
Yeah.
Like, again.
Or I was going to say MJ, but, because Michael drank and smoked cigars, but Michael was never accused of being out of shape. But I think Joker's a great one.
Because, if you're going to have there's a cultural aspect of players. Like, you get players from other countries. There's different cultural norms that they have. And you just have to deal with that. If you want to be in the business of the NBA, you can't play a Major League Baseball team. You can't build a great Major League Baseball team without having players from either
Different countries,
different either Asia, Latin America, wherever. You can't build an NBA team that's a great team anymore, really, without having some European influence. Like, it's just the way it is. You got to deal with some of the cultural differences. And I mean, I'm not saying they got to sit there like Vladi and smoke a pack a day, but you know what I mean? Like, if you can't have a problem with a guy drinking a beer.
The Kobe standard he has makes a little more sense when you remember Kobe was such a workaholic, and they obviously had more layered issues than just this, but he would
have dealt Shaq, too.
That's what I'm saying. Kobe basically did deal Shaq. Like, Kobe pushed Shaq out for the same reasons that Nico's pushing Luka out.
Finally, the morning after dealing Luka, Harrison addressed his team in Cleveland. Harrison told the bleary-eyed group that their goal remained the same, win a championship. Privately and publicly, Harrison has said he moved Doncic for Davis because he felt it gave Dallas the best chance at raising the Larry O'Brien. Harrison believes that Dallas is a better cultural fit for what the Mavericks want to build. So there's your breakdown in The Athletic and the New York Times over who Nico Harrison actually is.
Should we kick them in the gut one more time and read what The Athletic said is the trade return they left on the table?
Yeah.
When Harrison traded Doncic to the Lakers, negotiated with only the trusted Pelinka, he chose not to hold out for every tidbit Los Angeles could throw in a deal, most notably leaving 18-point scorer Austin Reeves, rookie Dalton Connect, and a 2031 first-round pick on the West Coast. So The Athletic makes it sound like it wasn't just Connect and a first-rounder that got left out of this deal, that it was also Austin Reeves, which is...
Yeah.
It's another...
What's the thinking in that? I've heard the justification for keeping it quiet and not calling the rest of the league. What is the thinking on, because you were going to scare the Lakers away from the deal by asking for too much?
Yeah.
The Mavericks are stupid.
Initially, we knew Connect and the 2031 were in it, and Pelinka talked about it because he's like, well, he's a risk, Nico. I mean, come on. And so one of the things I would suggest, I can't remember who did this. It may have been Windhorst or someone else. Remember, they didn't let anybody even let Luka know this was happening.
Yeah.
That it was suggested that if the Lakers felt like they could have talked to Luka before the trade, then it would have been easy to throw in all that stuff.
What is that? I'm not connecting what that has to do with it.
Because then they just know, like...
Why couldn't they...
Because then they get all the answers other than just Nico's representation of how Luka is. They get a chance to talk to Luka about, hey, how would you feel about if we did this and that and that?
But Nico has to have the mentality of they're still going to do the deal even if they give us Reeves and Connect.
Yeah, no, this is clearly a guy who just, like it said in the article earlier, was never going to pay him the Supermax. So he just went, let me get whatever I can.
Yeah.
He traded him the way you trade somebody at a deadline who you know isn't re-signing. It's ridiculous. It's awful.